All right, guys. Welcome in. Welcome to No Judgment here. I'm your host, Tish Ross, and I apologize for the delay. We were having some sound issues, some technical difficulties, but we are here now. And I want to welcome and thank Korey and Doris for being super patient. We were like, they could hear me, but I couldn't hear them. And we got it now, though. So I want to
Yay.
thank you guys for coming. Let me just run through this chat real fast. First and foremost, I have links to Korey and Doris's social media accounts. You're going to want those after you hear their stories. They are linked there in the comments. Full Blown Country is here. Brian with the Vineyard Farmhouse is here. Glad you're here. Gary with Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors is here. Piggy Piddle's in the house. He is here. Let's see who else. Paul with PSV Odyssey is here. Thanks for hopping in. And it's like there are a couple of more people hopping in. Neil with Treasure Hunter, he is in the house as well. So I want to go ahead and get started because I know. Hi, Dot. Thanks for coming in. We have a lot to talk about, and we are a little bit late, but actually, the way that my podcast runs now is it doesn't matter if we're late. We can continue to go. Hi, Eileen. I know Korey and Doris. They were on my podcast before, my radio show before, and I want them to be able to go back and give a little bit of history because you won't understand the transformation until you hear about some of their history, right? Some of the trauma. You don't know how good God is and how transformed Doris and Korey are until you hear where they've come from. So I think it's important to know that we are not doctors. We don't claim to be any type of counselors. We are human beings that have stories, our own journeys. And one of the reasons and one of the things that Doris and I and Korey all agreed on when we were chatting on our pre-interview is as hard as it is to be transparent and as hard as it is to be honest, there's a reason why we need to share our stories. And that was why in the title that I had pitched, have you ever asked yourself why me? Why am I the one that is going through all this trauma? Why does it always have to be me? Why God? And I really don't think until you actually go through it, or actually get through it, that you start semi understanding, maybe not fully, until, like Korey said, something clicked. But I had Korey on. It's been a while. I don't know if it's been quite a year yet. Maybe it has, but Korey had come on and shared a little bit about his nonprofit that he's trying to get to turned into a nonprofit, and it is called Socks That Rock. And Korey, I'm going to let you explain a little bit about that, and then we're going to kind of dive into some of your traumas and where Socks That Rock are at now, what you did for Christmas with gift cards, and kind of just move on down the line if that works for you.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for having us on again, Tish. Yeah, I was going to kind of either roll through my intro and then kind of go into the two different projects I have going, if that is okay with you.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the way I rehearsed it backstage, anyways. So
that's totally fine.
So hi everybody. My moniker name is Korey Wick, and you'll understand a little bit more about that later on. But my real name is Korey Wilkerson. I was born in West Texas in 1980, which is actually right at the peak of the oil boom. Barrels were $35 a barrel at that time, and which is like equivalent to I think $125 today. But anyways, I was raised out in West Texas in Odessa by my mom and my grandma, my granny, until around school age or so, and then we moved up to East Texas, or over to East Texas, I guess you would say, Which if you know anything about Texas, Texas is large, so that was like a 34-hour trip, I think, probably something like that. No, I'm just kidding. Wasn't that long, but um, so we got over to East Texas, and I basically went to grade school over there, and then I dealt with a divorce from my mom and my dad at an early age, around 11 or 12, I think 11. Anyways, ended up moving to Haltom City, and in Haltom City is where I really kind of grew up and started meeting friends, and that's where I met a lot of my close friends. To be honest, I'm still friends with quite a few of them, which is kind of hard to believe since I met them in middle school.
Mm.
So that's really a cool thing that I hold dear to my heart. Um, we moved to Burleson for a couple years. So I went to 2 years over in Burleson, and then I got to go back to Haltom and graduate over at Haltom High School, which was awesome. So because when I got to go back my senior year, like all my friends were like, "Oh my God, we thought you were dead," because you didn't have cell phones back then, and you didn't have their number, you couldn't get a hold of them. So after high school, I tried to go to the Army to be a medical specialist. I actually went to boot camp at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and when I was up there, I had a lot of things going on mentally and physically, and I couldn't figure out like what the heck was going on. And I had about 5 days left of boot camp, and the whole time I was there in the Army, like I had no idea what was going on, but I was actually developing type 1 diabetes. So my mind and my body was like, it was breaking down. It was like giving out on me because I wasn't taking insulin because I had no idea that I had it. So I had also just lost a really close friend to suicide when I was in high school, my senior year. And shortly thereafter that, I lost my dad. So all that before I went to the Army. So I had all that going on in the back of my head. That combined with the stress of boot camp, not addressing my early depression, traumatic events that had already been caused me by the age of 18. I ended up having a nervous breakdown in the barracks during basic training, and I ended up getting put out of the military. For a long time, I held on to a lot of shame, guilt, remorse. I felt like it was something that I did, like I felt like I was a coward, and I held on to that for so long.
Wow, Korey. Okay, I'm gonna stop you there because we have a lot of people that are watching that are in the military and from the military, and I want to kind of go back to when you first had your nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
What was that like? How did you know what was happening when that started?
Well, a lot of the things in my body that I was feeling, I don't know if it was from maybe that or the diabetes at that
Okay.
point. It could have been a combination of both, but physically, I mean, from what I remember, it was 1998, but from what I remember, my body was just stiff. I was very tense, very just what I know today is anxiety, very anxious.
Okay.
And I just went into this empty room, and I just just slid down next to this wall and put my hands in my face in my hands and just lost it. And my battle buddy, James, which unfortunately I lost contact with him, but anyways, he just happened to walk by, and he came into the room and was talking to me like, what's going on, man? What's going on? And I really couldn't say much. And he, I'm shaking. And anyways, he took me to the drill sergeant, and drill sergeant, they got me kind of straightened out a little bit, and then they sent me down to talk to the captain and all that stuff. But it wasn't fun.
So definitely just not able
Yeah.
to function and not really
Right.
knowing, like emotionally, physically able to
Yeah.
function.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I interrupted you, and you
No,
said
no.
that, when you were discharged that you felt embarrassment and shame.
Yeah. I felt a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment. I felt like I had given up on my country that I volunteered to try to go. They didn't force me to go. And I carried that around. Like, I didn't tell anybody for like 15 years. It wasn't until like 5 years ago that I told anybody that story. So
Wow.
nobody even knew that story except for myself. And I carried that around by myself for 15 years. And I finally let it out one day to a friend of mine. And I've told a couple people since then. And today is the first time that I've ever told that story to anybody other than those 4 or 5 people. So
Wow.
so it's easy to talk about now. It was very difficult the very first time I talked about it. Um, but when I came home from the army, I was extremely skinny. I mean, I looked like I was dying. I looked like Skeletor, if anybody knows who he is, off Masters of the Universe, off of He-Man. I mean, that's what my friends called me when I got home. I had this Superman necklace with the S on it, and they said, "What's the S stand for? Skeletor?" And I said, "Well, that's rude, you know." But they were right. I looked very sick, and luckily my grandmother advised me to go to the ER, and I went to the ER. And when I got there, they tested me. They knew exactly what was going on, because before I left basic training, like I was having these major just leg cramps. I was dehydrated, drinking a ton of water, and I just thought it was from all the exercise. I never had a clue. I'm 18 years old at this time, also. So, anyways, cut that short. My blood sugar was over 700 whenever I got to the ER, and the doctor said I should be dead. He said you should either be dead or you should be in a coma and probably not waking up, forever in a coma. He said the only reason you probably lived was because of how good a shape that you were in from the army. I now believe that that's God, because God has other plans.
Right.
So after that, I went home for a little, like I said, I went home for a little while, and I went into college in Waco at TSTC for computer science. And I had a best friend from Haltom, who we became really, really good friends in school. I was really good friends with his family. I was a part of his family. I loved him to death. He was a great, great, great dude. Never would have thought something would happen to him. And he came down one weekend. He was down there all weekend. We hung out, did some fun things and stuff. And then it was the last time I ever saw him. I never saw him again. And I received a call from his mom the next day. She was asking me, she's like, "Have you seen Bobby? He hasn't came home, in a day or so. And that's just not like him." And I said, "No, it's not." I said, "He left, such and such time. He should have already been home, whatever." He said he was going to the house. Long story short, they called back later that evening, and his mom told me that they
It's okay. Take your time.
that they had found him dead at his house, and it looked like a suicide.
I'm so sorry.
And man, that's a long time ago. I don't know what's coming back up.
Okay.
But they found him, and I told her, I said, "No." I said, "It's not like Bobby." I said, "No, it's not true. It's not true." I was in disbelief. I didn't believe her. I was in denial immediately. And his little brother, Kevin, he got on the phone and he told me that it was true. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and I just lost it. I just destroyed my room, my dorm room. My poor roommates, had no idea what was going on. They had no idea how to help me. They were afraid because they had, they're just tearing stuff up in my room. And I had no idea how to handle that, how to properly handle that at all. I mean, especially that being the second friend within, I don't even know what the time span was, a year and a half, something like that.
Oh my gosh.
And then, college was good. Shortly thereafter, I got another bombshell in my life. My dad, who had passed away when I was 17, turns out wasn't my biological father. And that's tough to find out when you're 20 years old and you think that he's your dad all your life. And you think you got a death sentence with diabetes because that's what he passed away from. And
Sorry, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So being in college, combine that with all the childhood trauma, divorce. I was exposed to tough to talk about, but I was exposed to pornography at a very, very young age by an uncle who was not a very good person. At an age that, even too embarrassing to say how young I was. I mean, it's adolescence.
Korey, I'm going to stop you there because I know there are many young men. In fact, and my son speaks of it very openly on his social media as well. But he was exposed to pornography as a young, like he may have been 9 or 10, maybe 9 or 10. And unfortunately, that became a huge addiction for him. A battle that, like with most addicts, a battle that it's daily to fight. And he partners with God. He has accountability partners. They check on each other. I actually, and he's 27, and I actually have the passcode to his phone that he doesn't know in terms of logging on to any kind of types of social medias or things like that that he can't log into. So I as hard as I'm sure as it is to talk about, coming up with what you and Doris are going to be sharing, and that's why I have your contact information up at the top. And this, if you're just joining us, Doris and Korey's contact information, like I said, you're going to want their links because as they speak of the trauma, and then something clicks, they have decided to do something really great, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But so I appreciate your transparency, Korey. And so you said that you were exposed to porn at a young age.
Yeah, and I have just a little bit more to go, then we'll definitely get to the more positive stuff. But
no, it's okay.
But yeah, and I mean, I was probably 7 or 8 years old the first time I saw it, and I'm not talking about Playboy. I'm not talking about the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, Playboys. It was some hardcore bad stuff. And so anyways, that warps your mind, and having just weird thoughts as a kid and thinking you're just abnormal because you're having these thoughts due to the fact that something wasn't even your fault, that carries a lot of weight too. And growing up, just no one probably had the perfect childhood, but just being verbally and physically abused as a kid, mainly by my dad. And when I say physically abused, I mean just like grabbing, pushing around, hitting so hard with the belt that you're getting whelps on the back of your legs. I've seen way worse, and it's not a competition or anything, but it just it definitely affected me for sure. Yes. And then the fact that that I learned that he's not my dad at 20 years old, the diabetes, depression, all that stuff, about all that by the age of 20. I mean, I'm like batting 1,000 already at the age of 20. I've already experienced a full life worth of trauma at age 20, before I even turned 21 years old. But there's so much more than that. But the point I'm trying to get to is I never handled it or dealt with it at the age of 20 years old properly. So I started to self-medicate. And in college, that's where you drink. I mean, it's where everybody goes to drink and party. And I guess you learn something at some point, I guess, by osmosis. But I took it to a different level. Every chance I got, I drank. Between periods, I drank after school. I show up drunk, take tests. I mean, I just took it to a different level. And by the time I turned 21, it just skyrocketed because it was at my fingertips. I could go buy it myself. I didn't need other people to get it for me. I could get it whenever I want at my leisure. And I'll be honest. I mean, from the age of 20 to 33, I do not remember. There's very few things I do not remember. Is because I self-medicated so hard through all those years. And I'm not bragging about it. I'm not proud of it, but it is what happened.
Right.
I could give a huge drunk log, tell you how much fun, I think I had. But that's not why I'm here. And that's not what the show is about. So, it wasn't until the age of 32 that my then girlfriend, whom is my son's mom now, stepped up to me and looked me square in the face. And she told me that I had a problem and I needed to face it. I needed to do something about it. I needed to get help. She did this when no one in my life would tell me. They might have been afraid to tell me. They might have not known how to tell me, or they might not have wanted to lose a drinking buddy. Like, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter at this point. And and maybe I just hit it very well. Maybe nobody knew I had the problem.
Did you know you had a problem?
To be honest, I was in denial still. I don't know. I don't think so. I knew that my behavior wasn't normal, but I didn't think I had a problem because when you think of someone that has a problem like that, you just think of someone that's on the side of the road or under a bridge with a brown paper sack. And I saw no.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So we broke up shortly after that, and definitely don't blame her, especially the shape I was in at that point. But thankfully, my mind was fertile because she did plant the seed, and I did seek help by her doing that. And she honestly saved my life. I mean, she really, really did, because if someone wouldn't have said something to me, like, I would have continued on that trajectory. And who knows, you can't go back and foresee the past into the future. But I probably would have ended up dead and hurting somebody, hurting myself. I mean, I was already on that road. And maybe one day, hopefully I can tell her that. So anyways, man, so long story short, I did go seek help. About 2 months later, my head was a little bit more clear, and I got a phone call from her, and I was just wondering why the heck she was calling me, because we had been broken up. We decided to not work on things, and she said she wanted to meet up for dinner, and I was like, "There's no way she wants to get back with me." Even though maybe the progress, I had no idea what the dinner was for. Is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So we showed up, we were eating and stuff like that. And I was kind of being a jerk, because I was just like, why are we here? Why are we here? And she slid something over to me, and I was like, is that the bill? Because I didn't agree to go Dutch on this. And it was not the bill. Well, it was a bill. It was an 18-year bill. It was a sonogram, and it was the first picture of my son, Ethan. So she had a clever way of showing me that she was pregnant, and I was in shock, and I'm just staring at the thing, and I'm like looking around, because this time, Punked Ashton Kutcher show was pretty big, and I was like, am I being punked right now? Like, is this a joke? And she's like, it's yours. And I was like, okay. And anyways,
Wow.
so at that point, that gave me a purpose, and I had my why. And I never doubted that I would love, cherish, and raise that kid like I had never been raised before, like I always wanted a dad to be. Because I've never met my biological father either, so I have no idea. I don't have a role model to go off of. So I'm just out here winging this thing, and every chance I get, I do that. I take care of him, and I feel like I'm the best damn dad I can be. And when I'm with him, he makes me a better person. He makes me do better things. He makes me set better examples for him. And he's just an amazing kid, and I'm so lucky to have him in my life. I'm not the perfect parent. I do make, parenting mistakes, but I do set the bar pretty high for myself, because I don't want him to experience the things that I felt with, not having a dad, because that's just, it's a bad feeling.
So let me ask you this. Do you long to meet your biological dad? Have you worked through that? Have you talked to him, or?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or do you not have any idea who your biological dad is?
I know his name. I don't have a clue what he looks like. We've, in the past, when I first learned about it, we tried to find him and locate him. But I've tried various searches in the past, but could never locate him. To be honest, the only reason at this point I would want to locate him would just be for medical purposes, just to see what he has. And maybe he has $1 million waiting for me too, that he's been saving up to give me. That's not probably going to happen, though.
How do you feel about that? Because again, and I you remind me a lot of my son. I revert back to my son, in that he did a podcast with me called The Fatherless Son, and you've met Tristan in the station. But how does that make you feel, to not have your father, to not know who your father is?
Well, first off, I just want to say my mom did the best damn job that she could do raising us by herself. You know, she may not have been the perfect parent either. I mean, there's no perfect parent out there. She did everything she could.
Right.
I'm sure it was a struggle, especially dealing with me, my sister as well. But um, sh- sh- I mean, it sucks. I mean, I would have liked to have had, you know, some of those memories and stuff, like going to the game or, you know, playing catch. I mean, I have one fond memory of my dad, Rocky, who I thought was my dad. He uh, he would get home in the evening from work, and I was out in the backyard in Longview, and I just had this orange football, and I just is all I wanted to do was like for him to come home from work and just, you know, play some catch with me, and I waited out there in that field for like 2 hours for him to get home, and he finally got home, and we played catch for a little bit. And it was probably like 5 or 10 minutes, like it wasn't very long at all, but like it at that time it meant the world to me.
Mm.
And so just not having a father, like at this point, I mean, I'm kind of desensitized to it, I guess, just because I've worked through it. So
Right.
but
Mhm.
it sucks, and I see why a lot of young men that don't have father figures go out and do dumb shit.
Mhm.
Sorry, dumb stuff.
No, it's
So,
fine. It's fine. You're fine.
um, and get in trouble, and they don't have. I mean, they don't have direction, and I mean, I get
Right.
that.
Right.
So
Well, I appreciate
I'm
you sharing
fortunate.
that.
So I'm at the home stretch now, almost there.
You're
Um,
fine.
so basically, ever since uh, Ethan's been born, basically the last 9 years or so, I've battled a lot of demons, and I've dealt with a lot of these, you know, these traumas, the past traumas. I've had a lot of bouts uh, with alcoholism, and lots of stints of sobriety in between, especially over the last probably 5 years. Lots of stints in between, but it is still a work in progress. I've received professional help on many occasions, whether it be a psychiatrist, psychologist, one-on-one counseling, group counseling, even 30-day like rehabs. In 2017, I was in a group therapy session, and I had this the worst anxiety I've ever had in my entire life. I'm sitting in the chair. I'm like counting the holes on the ceiling tiles. I can't listen. I can't focus, and that's just it wasn't like me. And I could not stop thinking and thinking and thinking about just getting out of here and just ending my life at that point.
Mm.
And I had as I sat there in class, I formulated a plan on exactly what I was going to do. And this is the one and only time that I've ever done that. And I by the end of the class, I was out in my car, and I was sitting there, and I had made up my mind that this is it. I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
And I started driving. I started driving to the pawn shop where I was going to, you know, get what I was going to get. And I just thought about a friend of mine that had went through something similar, where he had some of the same thoughts. And I called him, and he told me that a pastor that he knew um, helped him, talked him through some stuff. And I said, "Man, can I get his number?" I need to call him now. It's an
Mhm.
emergency. And he gave me the church's number. I called the church. It was like a day that nobody should even be there. The pastor should not be there. But for whatever reason, um, he was there. The pastor was there. So
And we know that reason.
rather than driving to the pawn shop, I drove to the church, and I talked to him for about 45 minutes. He had no idea who I was. It didn't matter. He brought me to his office, listened to what I had to say, what was heavy on my heart, and he he saved my life that day. And so God still had other plans for me.
Right.
So this is the last tiny bit, I promise.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We need to hear this.
Yeah. So through it all, you know, God, you know, never left my side, no matter how angry I was with him, no matter how much I didn't listen to him, no matter how much I didn't focus on him. I focused on myself. I focused on my problems, you know, how selfish I was, how much I just took and took and took. Um, I lost a lot of family and friends, family members, friends through all of that. But God just, he never left me, never forsake me.
Mhm.
He never let me give up. I've been knocked on my ass so many times and gotten back up and just kept going and
Mhm.
had no idea how. I knew why. I knew why I couldn't give up. Whether it was the right or wrong reason, I knew I could not give up no matter what. My biggest one obviously is my son.
Mhm.
I couldn't I remember the pain that I felt when I lost those two friends to suicide. And I don't blame them for what they did. I have no clue what they were going through. We were way too young to even understand that at all. For me personally,
Right. Mhm.
but I remember the pain that I felt in my heart and how long I felt it, and I would never want to do that to him or anybody or my family or my friends. And that's one thing that's helped me to hang on when I've had those thoughts in the past.
Mm.
Thankfully, I've learned so much over the last 42 years. It's shaped who I am, and it's created morals and integrity in me that like I never knew that I had. I'm always asking God to help another. Always asking God in the mornings, like, let me be of service to somebody today, God, please. And I always say 9 times out of 10, He lets me. But honestly, it's probably 10 times out of 10. It's just maybe I just didn't see it, and but He saw it. So just to get out of myself, help another. Was just helping people with my past experience, helping them find the help that they need if I'm unable to assist. That's basically what has brought me to these 2 projects that I'm working on.
I love that, and I love Korey, how you give God the glory. I mean, even in the midst of all of our troubles, and I'll speak for myself because I know how your mom Paula feels. Paula's listening, but and when I say my son was a fatherless son, he most definitely is. My 2 children and I were abandoned when they were 3 and 7, and he just chose not to be in their lives, and still. Um, and I know, Paula, that you did the best that you could, as did I. I mean, I think that just from hearing Korey's stories, that you are an excellent mother, and I'm just going to say that I am too. Um, our kids grew up; they're alive, they're learning. They do get back up because God has their back, just like you're saying, Paula. And I know that God has a plan for all of us, for us 2 moms, for all of us moms. And so you're such a I love how you are such a transparent gentleman, Korey, because it takes a lot to share those stories. And again, one of the things that Doris and I and you, but Doris and I were chatting about yesterday, is that there's a reason why people don't want to say things, but there's a better reason to actually share your stories, and we have to share them because we want to make sure that people know, who the Lord is. I'm going to move to Doris and kind of have her share some of her traumas. And then we'll move to the good stuff. But I want to quickly kind of give some shout outs here to some people that are on. First of all, thanks everybody that are joining. TJ Spears is here, and Paula Wilkerson is watching. Zach McKittrick says that you're an amazing man, Korey. Glad that you are here. And Dot Roper. Let's see who else. Making sure that I was able to say hi to everybody. I'm just glad that you guys are all here and supporting Korey and Doris. And Paula, I know that you're so proud of your son. Justin from Back Road Freedom is here. Josh Sherman's Family Farm is here. Marianne Bimler is here. Thank you guys for tuning in and supporting these 2. They're an amazing couple. Like I said, powerhouse individuals and a powerhouse couple indeed. All right. Tristan, thank you for coming in. He says, praise the Lord to you, Korey, for what you've gotten through.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. All right, Doris, it is your turn. We want to welcome you. Thank you for being patient. And Korey, thank you for being so transparent. I'm serious when I say that if people don't know what you've gone through, then sometimes the good is almost not helpful, right? I mean, we have to know what the journey was, and then when the good comes, it's like, wow, I think I might can get there too. So, Doris, welcome in, and also one thing right before, I wanted to give a shout out to Mickey with Critter Creek. He designed my new No Judgment Here podcast logo that you're going to see, that you see in the background. It's pink, hot pink, and black. And that will be the new logo as opposed to my old logo. And I so appreciate Mickey again, with Critter Creek. He's on YouTube, and you guys need to go check his channel out. But he's an amazing, amazing artist. And so I appreciate that so much. All right, Doris, I want to turn to you and let you kind of take it away.
Thank you, Tish. And thank you so much for having me and inviting me. It's been somewhat like a secret wish a little bit because I've never actually had the opportunity to talk to, a lot of people and share my story only at church. So, in this, I think that's where I learned the whole purpose, right, of sharing your story, not keeping it to yourself to help others. So I will start. So first off, I'm a little nervous, so just
Okay.
share with me. So I was born in Peru, Lima, Peru. So I lived there for 10 years. I was born in 1976. So for 10 years I was there, and my mom, my sister, and I decided to move here to the United States for the American dream. My dad was already here. He was working for a year and a half. That's really what happened back in those days. Pretty much all of my family, his brothers, that's really what we did. So we are immigrants. So yeah, we came here in 1986. I was 10. My sister was 8 or 7. So yeah, I'm pretty much a Texan. I've lived in Texas and Dallas my entire life. I lived a year in Puerto Rico, like whenever I had my first daughter. But yes, this is pretty much home. So yeah, it's been it's been a blessing to be here. God has blessed us in a lot of ways by bringing us here to this country. I am a single mother of 2 beautiful girls. I have a 24-year-old daughter named Celeste, and my 15-year-old daughter, Cassidy. And I'm also a grandmother to a very cute and energized 3-year-old granddaughter. Her name is Charlotte. So I always say, and I always feel like God gave me a lot of credit by blessing me with girls. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. He never makes mistakes. So
That's right. That's right.
so yeah, just kind of going as far as like myself, 100% Latina. So my life is full of family, full of people, loud people, music, and a lot of food, lots. And just within that, it's a lot of strong personalities. I grew up in a home with my grandparents, aunts and uncles. It was always a packed house. So it was, I grew up with a lot of different opinions, a lot of chaos, different, life arguments, family. So that pretty much molded me to, once I became a parent. So just to kind of give you, just a little bit of the background there as far as like how our culture is, when we grew up, lots and lots of people. And so I was always surrounded by that. So here, once I grew up here, I lived in Dallas. Like my first few years for school, I had to learn English. I didn't know a lot of English, so that was a little bit of a trauma. There was a lot of bullying. I experienced a lot of bullying in elementary and going to middle school. I went to when I started middle school, I was in Mesquite, so it was predominantly a country town at the time, and it was a lot of bullying, racism, you name it, right? So I experienced all of that. So that pretty much shaped and formed lots of my insecurities. Whenever I was growing up as a teenager, going on to high school. In high school, I actually kind of found a little bit of my group, I guess you can say, my clique. I was surrounded, by my Latin friends, where I found really my best friends, and two or three of them, which I'm still friends with now. So yeah, that was pretty much, I did experience that, a lot of that, and a lot of that stuff I kept to myself. I was always the type of a kid that didn't want to burden or bother my parents with. So I took a lot of that stuff and kept it. So that kind of shaped me a little bit of it kind of affected a lot of my once I became an adult
Right.
and a parent, a wife, and everything. So I graduated in 1995 in Mesquite. Go Skeeters. So right after that, as soon as I graduated, my mom, I was never a leader at the time. Like I said, I was very shy, very quiet. So my mom right away, she enrolls me into this straight school. And it was like a specialized business administration. And she just did it because she knew I wasn't going to take the initiative to do it.
Mhm.
And I just, again, I just followed, suit. My mom, she's like, okay, you're enrolled here. You're going to attend for a year. And I was like, cool. All right. I just listened and did it. Right. So for the most part, I think I was a pretty good kid. I mean, I did my crazy things in my teenage year, but I was always like just somewhat of a rule follower when it came to that.
And let me interrupt you, Doris.
Uh-huh.
But do you think that as being such a rule follower, as well as someone who kept the bullying to yourself, you dealt with that on your own, you didn't tell anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, that kind of shaped and molded who you were for a long time. It actually, you held on to those insecurities, the lack of self-esteem, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Um, and do you think that because you held on to all of that, and because you followed of course, what your mom was doing to help you out, because obviously she knew her daughter and
Mm-hmm.
it registered you, but hard to kind of think for yourself or make your own decisions because you were so used to maybe, I don't know if you're a people pleaser, but just doing what people told you to do?
Absolutely. I was always, yes, absolutely. 100%. I was always reaching out to, make my parents proud, especially my dad. And that's one of the things that I kind of struggled, and I've already make amends. It's my dad worked all the time, to make ends meet for the house, to provide. So I didn't really have him around, for the most part of my teen. It was always my mom. My mom also worked. So I was always just really just trying to people please for sure. And, but I held a lot of that inside me. So, so yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that I didn't have any proactiveness, and I was
Okay.
always just very, very insecure. And because I grew up in a household full of opinions, like I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of negativity within that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I never knew that I could be more than what
Yes,
God had planned for me.
exactly.
So for the
Okay.
longest, I was I was just like, no, I'm just going to I never even, I played volleyball in high school and I loved it. But I never asked them, because I knew they worked so much. I never asked them to put me in club or,
Mm,
just extra expenses. I
wow.
held that to myself the entire time. And, I always wanted to dance. I love dancing. Um, and I just didn't see that for me. I was like, nope, and, that was just not, I wouldn't even bring it up,
Mm,
honestly. So I
wow.
held a lot of stuff back. Um, but just having said that, again, my mom did help me just to
Yeah.
kind of, push me through that. And, now right around that time, my parents were also did their best. They
Mhm.
didn't have the greatest relationship. I didn't have like that, that great role model as far as a marriage, as a couple, whatever. So they were also young when they got married. But they were always there. If there's anything I remember when we grew up, it's always they were providers all the time.
Mm,
But at the same time, there was a lot of fighting and stuff like that. So I also, witnessed that. And that also, once again, it affected me when I started having my relationships.
sure. Mhm.
So right whenever, right after I went to college, I guess the trade school, I did graduate. I got my certificate. I started working, in offices as administrative assistant. Always been surrounded by helping people, customer service, things like that. So in 1998, I got married for the first time, and it was my high school sweetheart. It was my first husband. I was 21, and I had Celeste. And unfortunately, we were divorced within 3 years. Super young, high school sweethearts. Just a typical. We didn't
Right.
know what we were doing, and we fought a lot about money. Money was always an issue, and we divorced. And unfortunately, like, he completely, left, and that affected my daughter, my oldest daughter, which we'll talk about, the second part of my trauma after that. So because of my insecurities, because of that, as soon as my divorce was final, I was single again. Right away, I met my second ex-husband, Jason, and he's Cassidy's dad. So I met him right away. I was just one of those. I was always been the type of person, type of girl, can't be alone. I always had to have that, that companionship, I guess you can say, because I needed that extra validation,
Right.
reassurance. So we dated. He's actually a really, really great guy. So we dated for 5 years, and we got pregnant. And then 4 months later, I lost my first baby.
I'm sorry.
So this is like the first time that I experienced anxiety attacks. Never knew what they were. I do remember my mom having one when we were younger. And I know that it was because of everything that she was going through in her relationship with my dad. And I recognized it right away. After I lost my baby, I started to become angry. And drinking was a big part of my life as well. So that became part of it as well. I just started having a lot of panic attacks, anxiety attacks, nightmares. So I always said, I don't want to have any more kids. I had Celeste. I'm like, I'm happy. I don't want to go through this again. And then Jason decided, I want to try to have another baby. And I said, well, if we're going to have another baby, I want to get married, because we were just living together. And we did. We got pregnant. We got married. Cassidy was born in 2007. So then that's where life hit me even harder, because that's when I had to learn to be a wife and a mother, and I wanted to be good. I wanted to make them proud as well. At the time, one of the things that happened that led me to my first therapy was Cassidy was a very, very strong-willed child from the get-go. She turned one. She was a beautiful baby, turned one, and it was just, oh my gosh, I was tested. Oh, my battery is low. So this is where my issues started happening with anger, and they started surfacing. And because I remember the lifestyle that I lived with my parents. My dad was, worked a lot. He dealt with a lot of anger. So that's what just, started surfacing. And I remember going to my closet, hiding, screaming, crying. And I would just have thoughts of like hurting myself. Never suicidal thoughts, but just hurting myself because I just didn't want to be there. I figure if I hurt myself, it was just those crazy thoughts that I had. That's when I knew I needed help. It's funny that sometimes I do remember expressing these thoughts to family, and a lot of people don't understand. they say, oh, just, you're going to get through it. It'll be fine. It's, why do you get so mad? Why this, why that? So it was very rough to not have somebody to understand what I was going through. And like I said, my then husband he was great. He was supportive, but he didn't understand a lot of what I was going through mentally. So I seeked out for I had a really nice friend. She was Christian, and she recommended to go to see a Christian counselor. And that was the first time I've ever seeked, or I took therapy for a year. And actually that was the first time that that helped me find my faith deeper with Jesus Christ. It was like on a deeper level. I never knew that I could have like a relationship with him. I just knew I believed in him, and that was it. You go to church and you do good, and that's it. But anyways, so I did go for a year. It helped me a lot. It actually helped me be involved in my church. At the time, I was in a Catholic church. And so I did, and we did all the things. Everybody, the entire family was involved. And but the false thoughts and the lies started creeping up again in my head. I still felt that I wasn't doing enough. I felt like I was being watched, underappreciated, undervalued. So I let all these lies and false thoughts steer me away from church and counseling. And also at the time, my marriage. We did separate for a couple of years. And so that's what steered me off from church for pretty much, that was around 2012 until 2022, pretty much. Yeah. So, and it, like 10 years away from having something to look up to. I still believed in God. I still prayed, but I just completely isolated myself. I wanted to just make my own decisions, do things on my own, have fun. And it was it was just like a kind of like a roller coaster of what we went through for 10 years, because I was separated for 2. We gave it a shot again. But unfortunately we divorced in 2022. I'm sorry, not 2022, 2020. Right. Right before the pandemic. So throughout this, just kind of like in the middle of all of this that was happening, I started my other therapy, my other coping mechanism going through all this, I started to exercise. I started to run. I started doing yoga, and I played volleyball, and then I found CrossFit. So that was my escape. That was my escape from reality. It was my therapy. And people started to notice this of me. So I would naturally just try to, invite them along with me, or encourage them to be active and to incorporate exercise into their lives. When I started to notice that I was taken away from what I was going through and putting it on other people, and especially something that I enjoyed, it made me feel good. I would share my workouts. I would go to work out with them. I would join runs with them, sign up for volleyball leagues, etc. Like all of that just brought me happiness. But on the other end of that, it kind of separated me from being with my family. So, because it was just, it was an escape. I was still didn't know how to deal with in a overall way, how to deal with my with everything that was going on behind closed doors. And I know that a lot of that had a lot to do with my separation and my divorce for the second time. Again, my relationships, with that. So 2020 hit. My oldest daughter had her baby in 2019, like December, right before the pandemic. and it hit, and they had to move, moving with me. She broke up with her boyfriend, the baby's dad at the time. They had a pretty rough relationship, and my parents were living with me as well. So I had a full house for the entire 2020. It was crazy. It was a lot of once again, just stress, good moments, and also crazy moments. Homeschooling and everything. It was insane.
Right.
So 2020 was pretty rough, but we got through it. But I was also divorced, newly divorced, and unfortunately, going to 2021 and 2022, it affected my girls a lot. My grown girl, my oldest daughter, and my teenager, because of the product of divorce. My teenager started to rebel, and my granddaughter unfortunately lost her way. She just, started working in a restaurant, and again, she was also going through her own abandonment issues,
Right.
and just stopped caring for her, for her daughter, which left me pretty much to raise my grandkid on my own. Thank God for my parents, because they were with me, and they're still help me to the day. So moving now to last year, that was the tip of the iceberg. I struggle a lot with my own identity as a mom. In my heart and in my mind, I was 100% sure that I failed as a mom. It was really my biggest struggle. I failed at other stuff before, but failing as a mother was the ultimate for me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I tried my best, and I just blamed myself for everything. And this is the first time when I literally just wanted to end it. I never thought of ways. I just knew I wanted to end it.
Sure.
I asked God on many occasions to take me. I kept saying, what else is left? If I didn't do my job as a parent, blamed myself for everything. And I told myself I deserved everything I was getting because of all the wrongs.
Sorry.
I just thought I was getting what I deserved, and I would talk to God and tell him, I get it. I'll take it. I never blamed him. I just always accepted it. So I remember one day, this was the day that God saved me. I remember one day when I was alone with Charlotte. I was just trying to take care of her. I was working at home, super busy, and she was super needy. Of course, she just sensed, right? Little kids sense your anxiety and everything. I remember collapsing to the floor. Literally, my entire body gave out, and I fell to the floor. And she was standing there, and I just sobbed, asking God to please take care of her, because I don't think I could take it anymore. I was just so heartbroken and hurt because of my girls. I couldn't move. I could see Charlotte staring at me. I'll never forget. And I was numb. I've never experienced this in my life ever. So after several minutes laying there, which felt like an eternity, I managed to get up. I thought, I can't leave my parents. I thought of, just like Korey said earlier, you start thinking of everybody who loves you. I mainly thought of my parents, especially Charlotte. And I remember texting Korey, and I told him what happened. And he said that I needed to call a church or someone to talk to, like, that day. And he gave me a few names. And the thing I decided to do at the moment was to finally call and email my church. And it was a church by my house that I've always passed by, and I've attended a couple of times. And I've even gone to church with Korey, which is something that I kind of, that I did like when we started dating. And as soon as I did, I went to the following service, and I did exactly what when they tell you, if you're new, you can join this, the welcome team, and find out how you can get started with reestablishing your faith in your life with Jesus. And I joined the Rooted program, which they call it a Bible study to revamp and restart your relationship with Jesus.
Mhm.
I joined a women's group with all the doubt, with all the judgment in my heart that I had, all the fear I felt. I did it. And that changed my life. It was different this time. Never done a Bible study ever. I had no doubt that this is what God has tried so hard for me to do. And I had to hit that bottom in order for me to finally change my life. I surrendered when they asked me about getting baptized. Right away, I said, yes, I'm ready. I'll do it. And also, like, throughout this time, throughout this year, when that was happening, while I was going through all of this mental battle, depression, suicidal thoughts, I also started to eat a lot. I started to drink on the weekends, going out. And in a matter of 8 months, I gained like a little bit over 20 pounds. And that's a lot for me because I'm small. I'm a small person. My BMI was at its highest. I was miserable. I felt and looked horrible on pictures, like in my eyes. I hated the way I look. I felt no energy. I was just, even with my workouts, that never stopped. I always worked out, even through that. Now I wasn't enjoying it.
Okay.
Because my body was just super tired and just so unhealthy. I was literally eating more out of spite, out of rebellion. My eating, I wasn't even hungry. I was so angry at myself. I punished myself by eating unhealthy and drinking on the weekends, just to kind of cover all of that. And when my breakdown happened, when I called the church and I joined, that's when I decided to reach out to an old friend who coached the nutrition program. And I asked for help, and she referred me to my wonderful friend, Nicole Schneider, and who has been a godsend. And she's helped me not only like working on my health, but also, to also do this to help others.
That's
I'm sorry.
amazing. No, I was going to say that's amazing. It's amazing too how, we as human beings, I was trying to think, there are people that go one way, obviously, or the other, and one is stopping and not eating, because it's something that they can control and becoming anorexic. And then there are others that go the other way that are just going to eat.
Absolutely.
That is something else they can control. And like you said, you're eating in spite and out of anger or depression. And even though you were still working out, you still weren't feeling well.
Correct.
But thank God for the lady that came into your life and I guess kind of introduced you to other avenues or helping other people, like you said that you had earlier or previously shared workouts and
Absolutely.
and exercises, things like that with your friends. Before we move into your positivity, your move towards or out of trauma into trying to inspire others, I want to briefly move back to Korey. And Korey, if you can share with our listeners and our viewers what then after your trauma that you had started or you had the hope to be or soon to be possibly nonprofit Socks That Rock.
Yes. And I did a great job, Doris. So the first thing I did that I had came up with, because I was always asking God to, help me to be of service to somebody. And I I would help people, like maybe I'd hold a door open for them. Maybe I'd take their shopping cart back to the, return for them, something like that. It was all just like small stuff. And it's all small stuff, but I was like, I have a bigger purpose. There's something that's missing in my life. And for me, like, Christmas, I love giving more than receiving. Like I feel so awkward getting gifts. I've always loved just giving them and seeing the people open them. And so that's just always been natural for me. So the area that I live in, I mean, it's almost any area these days, but the area that I live in really started seeing a lot of homeless people around over in Southwest Fort Worth. Um, and I actually started talking to a few of them. I just go up and just have conversations with them because they had asked me for money or food or whatever. So I would just talk to them like a human being, because that's what they are, and just kind of hear a little bit of their story. Or if they didn't want to talk, nothing. But for the most part, a lot of them would talk to me, and I got to know a few of them, got to know their names and stuff like that. And one day I was just kind of driving around, and a thought just came into my head. I was like, how can I help these homeless people? I don't have a lot of money to help them all the time. What else can I do for them? And so I kind of researched a little bit, and turns out in homeless shelters, one of the most asked for items, besides like water and food, but mainly water, is socks. And so I was like, well, maybe I can get a bunch of socks, and I'll just hand a bunch of socks out to these homeless people and help them out. But I was like, how's that truly going to help them? So I just kind of brainstormed a little bit more, kind of honestly just prayed to God to help me figure it out. And so one day I was just driving around, and I was like, I know exactly what I can do. And so my idea was to basically just grab a pair of like white tube socks, because to fit stuff in. So I basically decided I'm going to put some hygiene stuff in there for them, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, razor, or not razor, all the stuff that I put in there.
Water, snacks.
Got snacks in there. Sometimes I would have water with me, but put all that stuff into a tube sock, and then that way, if I'm at a street corner, it's easily accessible. I can hand it to them like they're asking for money. Say, hey, here you go. Here's a brand new pair of socks. Plus, there's some goodies in there for you. Yada yada yada, that whole thing. And so people are probably like, well, how does that help them? Well, my thought process behind that was, if they use that stuff, they may feel more like a human. They may feel a little bit cleaner. They may feel a little bit of confidence. They might just get that tiny little spark to maybe go and try and either, maybe get a job, at least not be intimidated to go ask for a job or ask for an application.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my thought process. And then I was like, if they can get that little job, maybe that little job turns into where they can get a little apartment for themselves, and then they get a little car for themselves, or a bicycle, or something. And that was just my thought process. And I was just like, if I can just help one person to get off the street, like my entire mission would be accomplished. As I said on the show when I very first introduced this, obviously I want to help way more people than that, which is going to lead to this next project. But I started doing that, and I started posting stuff on Facebook, just on my personal page, and then I made a Socks That Rock page, and a lot of people started reaching out. A lot of people started getting interested, and I was really shocked by the I guess the amount of people that wanted to help. I was really blown away, to be honest. But I had family, friends, strangers donating however they could, whether it was funds to the cause, whether it was toothbrushes, soap, shampoo, conditioner, socks, whatever it was. I had all this stuff coming in. And it just literally, like within a month and a half, I had, I think it was like around 275 pair of socks.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Stuff. Yeah, she had to help make some of
It's
those.
fun.
Yeah, and it was cool too, because my little boy got involved, and he was. I showed him like how to put the socks together, and he was asking, why am I doing it? And he's like, he wants to help. And then it's so cool. One day I was taking him home, and he was walking down the stairs. He turned around and looked at me, and he said, the next time I come over, can we go hand some of those socks out to those people? And man, it was a great moment. It just blew me away when he said that.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was just a sweet, awesome moment. I'll never forget that moment. but we we finally got to do an event, which was my goal. We did an event at the Presbyterian Night Shelter. Doris helped out, and my buddy Nate from church helped out. So us three went down to the Presbyterian Night Shelter. They set us up a little table. We got behind the table. We're handing out socks, and we got a bunch of cooling rags that I had asked for because it was super hot. I mean, it was middle of summer when we did this, and I mean it's just super hot, and so the cooling towels went really fast. But people coming in, they were just so grateful. I mean, like just so nice, and thank you so much, and we appreciate it. I mean, it was amazing, and like when I tell this story, like I know you don't brag about helping people and stuff like that, and I'm not bragging by any stretch of the imagination. I tell this story because it's just like if people don't know like this is going on behind the scenes and that people are being helped, then what's it going to do? But anyway,
Right.
so we helped out a ton of people there, and then so it became Christmas time. And we wanted to kind of change our focus a little bit. So I changed my focus to the Women's and Children's Center. And I spoke with the lady over there, and I apologize, I don't have her name right off the top of my head. I should have had that. That's my fault. Anyways, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to get donations. We're going to give gifts to these kids. And they said, well, I'll tell you what. She goes, the little kids, everybody wants to give to because that's fun, the fun gifts. The teenagers are the ones that get overlooked. They often don't get gifts, or they get gifts that aren't age appropriate. Like a 14-year-old got a Barbie doll one year, and she's like, "What the heck am I supposed to do with this?"
Right.
So I was like, "Okay, how can we help them?" And she said, I said, send me a list of how many teens you got. Please send me their ages, because I was thinking about just getting them, different gifts or whatever. Long story short, that she sent us a list. There were 25 people on there. It was pretty even, like I think maybe 10 girls, 15 guys, something like that, between the ages of, I think it was like 11 and 17, something like that.
Wow.
And we pulled together those donations, I promise you, in less than a month. I mean, probably less than 3 weeks, to be honest. And it was a lot of money, because it was 25 separate gift cards for a pretty good price to help them at least get something at like Target.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent them all Target cards. I got a report after the new year that they took them all on a little, outing. They all went to Target. They're all super excited to spend their gift cards. And they all went out and got whatever the heck they wanted. And so, and
I
that
can
is,
only imagine how that made you feel, and the community that helped you, to be able to do it. It makes you emotional, actually. Now that I'm talking about it, thinking that, there are families, mothers and children and fathers and children in homes that are homeless and are probably wondering, what many single parents that are struggling, how am I going to provide Christmas for, my child? And, even older kiddos, I mean, trying to figure out where I'm going to get money to, get them a gift card or give them some money so that they can go and go shopping. How amazing that must be for the community to know that they took them on an outing and they were able to go shopping and get something for themselves.
Yeah, and it absolutely had zero to do with me. As all I was a facilitator. I mean, that's all I was. I got the funds, figured out how to get the cards, got the cards over there to them. There were so many people that helped out to get those funds in order to give those gifts to those kids. So all those people that donated, and even the people that thought and prayed about donating, help those kids, just have a, maybe a Christmas they'll never forget, so as small as it is, it's huge to them.
Yes.
So, we're gearing up for another project with the Socks That Rock. I've got some ideas, but there was one more thing that I had came up with. My son he played baseball for 5 seasons, and he wanted to transition over to basketball. So I was like, you know what? There's a lot of kids up there. I said, maybe we can figure out how to get a ton of basketball cards and hand out basketball cards like as a little gift to them. But I was like, how the heck am I going to do that? Because sports cards are outrageously priced nowadays because it's, still booming.
Right.
So I knew a couple guys from different card shops, and I knew a bunch of guys that collected. And a buddy of mine named Jody Mackey, he's on my Facebook page. He owns a sports card shop in Bedford, Texas, called Collectible Investments, and I'll post his address and all that stuff on there. And he did not do this at all for any advertisement whatsoever for his shop. His faith in God is super, super strong, and his charitable charitable vibe is the same as mine. And when I went into his shop, that's kind of how we hit it off and kind of started talking about that stuff. And we kind of made, I guess, like a little bond or whatever.
Sure.
I haven't known him for a super long time, but he's a super great dude. And I told him, I said, I'm looking to get probably 300 packs of basketball cards. And I said, you don't have to give them all. I said, I'm just trying to come up with that many from everybody. Well, lo and behold, about a week later, he got back with me and he goes, I think I have all of them for you. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no, he's like, I'm not. He's like, I got probably about 300 mystery packs. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, dude, you do not have to do that, man. And he's like, no. He's like, it's all right. I mean, he had no qualm about it at all. So I went over there, I picked him up, and we dropped him off to a lot of the kids at the league he was in, to a bunch of kids and the teams out there. I have another buddy of mine, Anthony, that it's in his son's in a league and he coaches in the league. We had so many, like I gave a ton to him. We're still handing them out to kids. We've still got a few left, so we're still handing them out to kids. So it was just amazing that they thought it was like Christmas again. Just they could receive one little pack of basketball cards with their little snacks after the game, and they thought it was amazing. I mean, they're running off the court, like hold them in their hands, like, oh my God, look at this. And it's just, I mean, it's honestly, honestly, that felt good.
That's amazing. Yeah, oh my gosh. Really quick before you continue, Korey, and I think I have it in some of the links, but Josh with Sherman's Family Farm wants to know, does Korey and Doris have a YouTube channel?
I don't.
I do have one. I just started it, so there's not a lot of content on there yet, but it is at Korey Wick, I believe. Yeah, youtube.com, whatever / Korey Wick or at Korey Wick. But yeah, there's a little content on there, like my introduction video that kind of tells a little bit about that project and my idea behind that, which I can tell a little bit about that real quick, where Doris can go back, whatever you want to do, Tish.
No, you go ahead. Okay, so we've gotten through some of the basketball or basketball cards, and first of all, that is an amazing gift of the gentleman. And what was his name again?
Jody Mackey, Mackey.
Wow, and it like you said, he didn't do it for any kind of recognition or any promoting his shop or anything, but it just sounds like another. A human being like we should all strive to be. I mean, Korey, like you and Doris are doing things to be servants of God. That's what I think it is. We are all here. All of us are here to be servants of God and to do what we can. Like you said, every day, like, and whether it's opening a door, whether it's smiling at somebody, whether it's just talking to someone, it doesn't have to cost a dime. But yes, Paula said definitely a God moment for sure. But so then after the cards, you when did the idea of the Facebook page, when did that come up?
So this is, I mean, it's helping people just like I'm doing with Socks at Rock, but it's something that's kind of a little bit separate. But there came a point a couple months back where I was kind of at the point, like kind of what Doris was saying, like I was starting to slip back into that depression. I started to not feel good about myself. I started to gain weight. I'm type 1 diabetic. My blood sugars were I mean, not through the roof, but they were not in control. Wasn't good. And I was going down the wrong path again. I felt, um, even though I was fighting it and trying to do the best I could. So I just got to like a breaking point, and I just completely just like disconnected. I left my socials. I deactivated all my socials. I ended up changing my number. I changed my number for the reason I changed my number. I had some toxic people in my life, and I wanted to just cut off like a limb, just chop off, and I did that, and it ultimately it did help. However, I was just completely disconnected, like I said, and I felt like I was losing everything again, and I felt like I was going back to when I first started, like back to square one. Anyways, one of the things that Doris is going to talk about that helps me with my health, as far as her and I, like we've always piggybacked off each other. If one of us is struggling in an area, the other one's always up here and the other one's down here. And I feel like we always bring each other to the same level, or we bring each other up to the higher level. And it's just weird how that always works.
Isn't that amazing how God works?
Yeah.
Yes.
So with that being said, she basically started helping me out with what she does. And I started to see my motivation was coming back, and I started getting back into the gym again. I started working out again. But the thing that she does with the coaching, she started helping me with that, and the nutrition and stuff is what really helped my type 1 diabetes. I did it for 30 days. That's what she does, and she'll speak more about this in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And my 30-day average was 217, I believe, whenever I started. By the end of the 30 days, it was down to 181. Now, what that means is that on an A1C chart, which is a 90-day average of your blood sugars, that basically dropped me a full percent down from a 8.2 to a 7.2. I'm sorry, 8.5 to 7.5. Now, my goal is to be 6.5 and under, but that was a huge change in 30 days.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Doris, tell us what you're doing and how you're using. We chatted about your trauma and also about how you love to exercise and how that was just something that you just really love to do. But now you're using it to help others. Now we're into the good stuff. And so tell us how God called you to do that.
So kind of going back a little bit, whenever spiritually I was already finally reached out, doing my Bible classes, and then finally working on my health. Those two things together did a number on my mental health and my mental status. And in both instances, because it almost happened simultaneously, whenever I went back to church and then decided to work on my nutrition and becoming a coach myself. It's pretty much is like the basis of is deciding to help others. And that's pretty much what saved me. So once I discovered my whys, because of my business is now coaching other, helping clients to work on their nutrition. I've always been active. I've worked out, but I never knew the nutrition was always something that I wish I would have taken classes and learned more about that stuff. But with this company, with this program that I'm doing, it helped me watch pretty much everything, how I was eating at obviously in moderation. And it just helps you. It's an easy program to follow. But one of the things, I've done a lot of stuff in the past, tons of diets, you call them diets. And this is the only thing that provides an actual coach, somebody that's there with you, really the entire time until, you reach your goal, whatever your health goal is. Mm-hmm. And even after, we help you transition to eating, whole foods and having healthier habits. They provide the education, they provide all of the, obviously the nutrition program, and also the community. I've never seen that in other stuff. I've done it all. I've done it before, everything. So I that was one of the things that really attracted me to, and I was like, oh my gosh, finally! I've always wanted something. God, I know that so many people would tell me, you need to coach. You give us workouts, and I would help them. And I'm like, I know. But again, that insecurity, that, all of that. But because everything was happening together, my business helps me focus on my whys. And also being in church and doing these Bible classes has helped me to share my story. Put those together, and it's pretty much, I mean, it's incredible, right? Because people want to hear your story on how you go from this part to the next, right?
Absolutely.
We're not perfect. And we always have to find our reasons. We always have to find our whys. Mine was definitely, my girls, obviously, be an example for my girls, my family, my baby Charlotte, and everybody who loves me. But most importantly, God. He has a huge purpose for me. That's something that I also realized too, and I can't rob him of that.
That's right.
It gets stronger now that I am able to have clients who reach out to me, who have seen my transformation, what is done because the physical part is actually the easy part. The nutrition does it for you. The program does it for you. What happens to you mentally, it's something bigger than what we could, offer. And all I am is just kind of, I guess you call it a vessel, or somebody that's right there next to you, motivating you, cheering you on. And because a lot of people are so scared, they are so insecure, and then they're just, I've tried everything, I'm not going to lose weight. But that, once they start working on their health, oh my goodness, it opens so many doors for so many stuff. The stories that I hear every day, my own clients texting me. I mean, to tell you that now I love Mondays, because the majority of my clients and the majority of people start program on Mondays. So every Monday I get a text. I lost 5 pounds. I'm feeling great. I have all this energy. It's amazing. And that makes my heart so happy. And I know that this is my purpose. And it's not just Mondays, it's literally every day. Doris, you're like my life coach. I mean, things that I would never in my life imagine I could possibly be an influence of.
That is so amazing, Doris. Like I can feel your or hear God's purpose just as you're speaking. I mean, like you said, you went through all of this trauma, and the cool thing about going through trauma, because God says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you go through trials and tribulations, and then you later, in the midst of the trauma, or in the midst of the trials, or the midst of the tribulations. For me anyway, I'll speak for myself. Before I had a true relationship with the Lord, I really would never have considered it pure joy to be going through some of the stuff I did, right? I mean, it's not fun. But now when I'm going through something, because I do have a relationship with the Lord, I know that there's a purpose behind it. It's not to hurt me. It's not to disconnect me from God. It's not to blame God. There's a reason why. And you know what, Doris? God has blessed you as you're like a soldier out there, because you understand what your clients are feeling, because you went through it. You understand what they're going through. You understand how hard it is. And yes, God has blessed you with that gift. And I'm getting chills thinking about how exciting I have to
Thank
sign up
you.
for you, like you said, not just on Mondays, but because they start on Monday, and I'm sure that you're just so pumped for them.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love getting the text. I love to share that because there's always someone out there that just needs that push. And when they're ready, they're going to be ready. It's funny you said soldier because I have a friend, a really close friend, and he calls me a warrior. He's like, "You're a warrior," because
Yes.
it's,
And I believe everyone is a warrior. I believe
mhm,
everyone is God's soldier. Corey has been God's soldier. I mean, everyone,
mhm,
God has been chiseling and developing, and He created us for His purpose, right? And
absolutely.
hi, dog man. And it is up to us to obviously seek God, seek him. And yeah, sometimes, some people say, "Oh, I've never asked God why. Why did I go through this?" Well, you know what? I asked why because not, "Oh, woe is me, why?" But why, God? What is it that you want from
What is
me? What is
right?
it that you want me to learn from
Hmm.
this? And then boom, it's for his purpose. It's because I need you to go and share the good news. I need you to tell your story so that people that are wondering, how come you are always, why are you the way you are? Why are you in such a good spot? Well, listen, it hasn't always been good, and
Hmm.
it isn't always going to be good.
Absolutely.
None of us are perfect, and we have our seasons that we go through, but we know that there's a reason.
It's very true. And one of the things that I wrote here, and it's funny, you just mentioned it, the last, everything that I've learned the past 6 months, when I started this journey, um, that's exactly what I wrote. I said, life is still hard. I'm still struggling with my girls. I pray every day for them to find their way. I love them, and I will struggle with my self-esteem. I will wake up one day and be like, sometimes you don't feel it and you feel insecure. You start to let those little lies,
Yeah,
trickle in. But it's whole lot easier now that I have, God in my heart and in my mind. It's the shift is a lot faster for me to go from, I don't feel it right now, to, okay, let's just get back up.
yeah,
Let me talk to you, God. And also it's a whole lot easier when you have a tribe. I mean, it does take a village. We are not meant to do this alone, and I had to reach out. I had to reach out to people, and that was the other thing that I wanted to, pretty much convey. With all of this, that I've been blessed with, to have an amazing women's group in my church who pray for me every day. To have a business is also, uh, have a lot of God loving people, and that, I mean, it was almost perfect. They help me, to support me, they mentor me to be a great coach for these people,
yeah.
for my clients, my close friends who have noticed. They notice my purpose, my intentions. They text me with their support. Um, even my girls, I know that they see me, and in their moments, they notice how, that I'm just doing my best, and that I love
Absolutely.
them.
Yes. And, there are a lot of people that, including myself. Well, again, I'll speak for myself because,
Mhm.
kind of like you, Doris, I always knew who God was. I always prayed.
Mhm. Yeah.
And for a while when I was younger in my 20s, I thought, I don't need to go to church to know God.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, it is the people that make the church, right? It's not the building. The people make the church. They are your accountability partners. They are your prayer warriors. They are who we do life with. I mean, who we go to in times of loss. I know when Mike and I lost Ben, it was our church group, the first community
Mhm.
that um,
Community. Yep.
that helped us. And like Josh with Sherman's Family Farm, it's so true that we have to wake up. He says we have to wake up and decide what kind of day we're going to have. If we choose it will be good, then it will be. And that is so
So true.
true. The
Yes.
enemy is so powerful, but not as powerful. He's not definitely not God. And so, but he likes us to teeter totter on, okay, I wake up and I'm just in a bad mood just because, like you said, you have to choose what kind of
Mhm.
day it's going to be. So I appreciate that comment. So so your contact information is also, your links are in the comments, and so people can reach out to you to, if they want, if they wanted to or interested in that journey, to take that journey.
Absolutely. Yes. It's my Facebook page. That's pretty much my business card really right now. I have all the transformations. I've been able to help my family, lots of friends and coworkers. So yeah, it's really there. You can message me, you can friend me, reach out to me, whoever. It's very, very simple. It's a conversation. There's no commitment. It's really just, you know, so we can talk and see
Yes.
what your goals are, and for me to help you in regards to your health, what our program has to offer. Yeah, and then I'm so thankful that I've been able, to help Korey as well. One of the things I wanted to mention was that, he's another person that he's never left my side. I mean, even through our struggles and our, like any couple disagreements, arguments, our own issues, we never stopped being friends. Our friendship was one of the things that I've always treasured, because we were going through our own, battles. But that was one. And then, of course, I don't want to forget to mention my parents, that no matter what, they're always been there for me, and they support me. So I didn't want to miss that.
No, and I appreciate you saying that, because when we go through the hard stuff, I mean, there's no perfect couple. They're just, they are
Absolutely.
not. And I love that you said that you guys stayed friends, that you remain friends even as a couple, as you're going through the tough stuff. And I think again, reverting back to Josh's comment, you have to choose. Love is a choice. And Mike and I chose under God's blessings, and in our church when we got married, we chose to love one another through the, for better or for worse, and there has definitely been a lot of worse, and there's has always been a lot of better, and I think we get better because of the worst.
Absolutely.
Gosh, Doris, thank you so much for sharing everything, your trauma, your bouts with depression, your thoughts of, maybe I don't want to be here, to where you are now, because a lot of people think that when people get to where they're supposed to be, that it was super easy. How did you so easily get that, get there? And that's what I wanted, and I'm so grateful that you both decided and agreed to come on, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And you two sharing your story are definitely prime examples of, it's been tough. It's been a tough road, but I got it. I made it. And so I'm so grateful to you, Doris, for sharing your story, and grateful for the people that are connecting with you, because like I said, you're a chosen soldier and you're doing God's work here on earth, and what a blessing. We had another comment before I get back to you, Korey, so that we can chat about your Facebook page. Dogman, you are so correct in that your church is, your dogs are your church, and that's why I wanted to speak for myself. That for me, my church is the church with the people in it, but he says each person has that one thing that works for them, and for right now, people don't work for him, but his dogs. And I'm telling you, this guy, you guys, if you haven't gone to follow Dogman's YouTube channel, he has been called by the Lord to take care of so many strays. He has
that's awesome.
he uses his whole yard, his land, to take in all these dogs that have been thrown away, literally thrown away. And the heart that he has for God's creatures is amazing. So I completely understand that, Dogman. So Korey, I want to get back to you and let you tell us a little bit about your Facebook page and what clicked for you.
All right.
Oh, Lord. He can't help himself.
Thanks for all the support in the chat, and thank you, Full Blown Country, for the I guess probably my first subscriber. So I guess I'm a YouTuber now. So I guess
Yay!
I'll be famous by tomorrow, right? Yeah. So like Doris helped me with everything she just spoke about, and it got me back on track physically, which is what I needed first. I needed to get out there and get my body moving, get outdoors, get my endorphins going. Once I got that going, that was kind of like the train, like, starting back up, because the wheels are moving again, trying to get down the track. And that kind of changed that. I mean, it did change my whole mentality. Like I just started becoming more positive. Like each day I would wake up, and she's like, we're both optimistic, but she's super positive, and it transferred to me, and it helped me mentally. And so once I got my mental state back and I started to get some clarity again, my mind started opening back up. I started reading again. I started getting back in the Bible, reading I have this daily book that has, like a little reading and then some scriptures. And I got back into that, and I started getting back into to some structure, to a schedule. I made a schedule for myself, and I started following it as closely as I could. And I started to realize, like, all of a sudden, just this light went off of like just a switch. And I promise you, like, God, like he flipped the switch in me, and I felt like over the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, I feel like a completely different person in a great way. But as you said, people don't see like what it takes to get there. It's
Right.
literally taken me probably close to a decade to get to this point, and it finally clicked. And I don't ever want to look back. Not to say I'm not going to have setbacks or anything like that. So with that being said, I know like what helped me to get back to this point, the way that I feel and how pumped up I am about this. And I was like, how can I transfer that to other people? And so I started thinking, and I could brainstorm, and I like to come up with like unique ideas, and on my personal page, I have a bunch of goofy pictures. So I like making goofy videos, like the croc hunter, and stuff like that. But anyways, I was like, I need to make another page, and I need to dedicate it strictly to just helping other people, but not only helping other people. I want to make a network of people that want to help other people. So we have a mesh of people on this page that if someone says, hey, I'm struggling with this, I can say, cool, Susan has dealt with that. Talk to Susan, or Susan, please reach out to this person and see if you can help them with that. Because I can't help every single person, but my goal is to inspire people, to motivate people, and then to connect them with the right person. And the reason why I'm so passionate about that is because through all my struggles, there was always something that I didn't know how to find help for, or something. And there was always somebody that was like, hey, let me talk to so-and-so for you. Let me put you in touch with so-and-so. And it was freely given to me without asking for anything back or anything. And I wanted to do the same thing. So I came up with this idea to have like a secret identity. Obviously, it's not a secret. I'm not wearing a mask. You know who I am, but it's like a secret identity, like a superhero persona, a moniker. And so I wanted to keep my same initials, which is KW. And I do like John Wick. So I was like, I'm just going to be Korey Wick. I'm make it simple and easy. So that's why I came up. What is that? Oh,
I said I like him too. Love Korey.
Yeah. But so I came up with that name, and I was like, I'm going to make this page, and it's how I'm going to inspire people. I'm going to inspire people by working out. The workouts aren't to be like, hey, look at me, look what I can do. Look at me. That's not what it's about. What it's about is people seeing that, and they're thinking, hey, I know that guy. He's a regular guy. He's out here doing that. I can do that. Or they want to come work out with me, or I go work out with them, or just whatever. So just get them started physical again, like get their train going down the track again, just like I had to do. And then by inspiring them with that, then that's going to start helping them mentally. They're going to start feeling better about themselves. They're going to start maybe losing weight, or just getting those endorphins going, feeling good. And then they get a clear mind. And then, you come to my page, like I believe in God. I'm not. It's not like I don't care what you believe in. If you're a person that wants to help other people or you need help, like that's why I designed that page. And is what I try to do is in the mornings, I don't do it every morning, but I try to send a video out just as soon as I get up or just shortly after I get up. So I usually look crazy in the morning. So just forgive me for that. Don't be scared. But I try to just send out like get your day started type thing, inspiration, just give you a little inspiration. And then around, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'll send out maybe some type of workout thing or something or other. And then maybe I'll send out a little bit later, like, I don't know, like a little recipe to help you out or something to help you with mental stress or just something that can help you physically, mentally, or spiritually. Because I believe that a stool can stand on 3 legs, I believe. I mean, I know it can. So if you got mental, physical, and spiritual, then your stool is going to stand. If you take one of those away, your stool is going to fall over. So you need all 3 to go together to have your health, and your health is all that you have. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that's basically why I made the page. There's there's an intro video on there that kind of tells a little bit more about it on my YouTube page now. Go check it out, like and subscribe.
That's right. That's right. Korey, I'm serious. This is a great community. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of channels on here. It is an amazing community. It's almost like a family as well, like we were talking about community in church. Well, this is a great YouTube community. Everyone is so uplifting and willing to help others be as successful as they can, or at least try to help them. But so before we hop off, I just want to thank you both so much for coming on and being so transparent, so vulnerable, so raw, so real, so honest, which is what my podcast is about. I thank you for sharing so openly so that other people can know that they're not alone. And before we go, I want to ask each one of you a question. I'm going to start with you, Doris. Doris, who is Doris today?
Oh my goodness. I just want to help people. I love the fact that I was able to share all this. So what I am today is strong. I wanted to wear the shirt, strong. Whenever you mentioned earlier, as far as finding the joy within the chaos, I can finally say that. I can finally say that I am a wholehearted believer in the promise, in God's promise, and I know that no matter what, it's going to be fine, no matter what. So who I am today, what I am today, is really just excited for what's to come, even through all the trials and tribulations that we go through every day, because it's not easy. I'm just so thankful. I am beyond thankful that I have God in my heart, and that with Him, everything is possible. And I know it's going to be fine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doris. Absolutely. And by the way, nice arms.
Thank you. I love to show them off.
Very nice. I've been kind of eyeballing them since the beginning. Korey, you're not chopped liver either, buddy. I'm a woman, and so I'm kind of eyeballing those arms this whole entire. I'm not even gonna lie. The whole time as soon as you popped on the screen, I was like, "Dang, those are some nice arms."
Thank you.
Doris. All right, Korey. Who is Korey today?
Man, I guess I should have went first, trying to follow that. Show off. It was one question. I'm a loving father that's just forever indebted to his family and friends who have helped me along my journey and just never given up on me. I'm a man that no longer lives with fear. I used to fear everything. I mean, I couldn't even walk down the street and look people in the eyes at certain times. It was just it was tough. But today I'm a man that I don't live with fear. And the reason why I don't live with fear is because I've chosen to not chosen. It's taken me a long, long time, and I still struggle with surrendering to God and just turning over whatever is on my heart and going about my day, which is why this page, Korey Wick, helps me also. It helps me stay accountable to myself by helping other people and not worrying about my problems, not worrying about others. I mean, not worrying about myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's worrying about others. And so I'm just a man that wants to do God's work. I want him to work through me. And so far he's doing that. He's allowed me to be of service to others. And it's really all I can ask for. I mean,
Absolutely. He
Amen.
is. I thank God for both of you. I thank God that you both came on, and we will share this out to at least for my social uh, media formats, and you guys do it as well. And anyone that's watching and listening, if you can share it out as well, because Korey and Doris are here to serve God, and which means serving others. So thank you both for coming
Thank
on. I
you.
hope that you guys have a wonderful night and a great rest of your week.
Thank you
all right.
so
Thanks,
much.
Tish. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody. You guys have a good night. Thanks for
See ya.
joining.
Bye, everyone.